2, 3, come on.
Remember, new episodes premiere every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. on TV 15 and across other social media platforms.
I'm Jasenia Lassiter, wishing you a wonderful week.
Stay friendly, St. Martin.
Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Abby. Okie dokie, kids, what's happening on the lovely island of St. Martin? We begin with the news of somewhat District 721 news. Why? Because they won a court case against the government today. Yay! Apparently, there was a case, a complaint, or a whole court case injunction that was against the government concerning the amount of volume they use. Also, when it comes to the neighbors complaining about how excessive noise. It's so loud to my ears in the Simpson Bay area where all the tourists are at. The drama, the sound, it's too much. I can't sleep. I shouldn't have taken a house in Simpson Bay in the middle of the tourist attraction place. So the complaint was taken. The judge listened to the arguments, and the judgment was as follows. Government, the sound that you want District 721, that you want them to adhere to, is just me and you talking right now. It's too soft. That makes no sense. Then you shouldn't give them a license, because right now, this is the amount, this is the type of volume that you want them to have. As opposed to somebody close by or other clubs that have it louder than this. And it's loud and it's proud and it's tourist attraction. So the judge threw it out and said, District, you did nothing wrong. Government, you lose. Krisha, I know must be upset, but she still win because it closed, right? Come on, she was in the right to close it down because they're terror to the neighborhood. In any case, they have closed down, and they're in the process of reapplying for a new operation license for the same location. That's what I'm hearing. Let's see how that goes. Of course, it's going to get lost on the desk of the good minister because she's going to have an axe to grind. Why? Because she's petty. That's just what Krisha does. In other news, the police department of St. Martin, KPSM. Let's talk law enforcement. Let's talk what is Batman leaving behind. The police department is going through some struggles. Why? Because the vehicle situation for the lovely patrols that keep somebody safe. I think it's you. Yes, you. That keep you safe. Apparently, look like Batman fell asleep on the wheel, and the villains are winning out there in these streets because the way the patrol cars work. The patrol ain't patrolling because the lack of vehicles that the police department have. They are on a low. They are on a slow. They are in an issue, and we need to sound the alarm for Batman to come to the rescue. So it is high time that something in the meantime, a short-term situation has happened because we had that energy for the election time. Remember where cars just miraculously appeared for the law enforcement, for the military, for all those police officers coming from the different neighboring islands to help St. Martin because we are so crime infested and we found vehicles on a short-term basis. Then they had to return the vehicles and now they're back to crap. The question is, Batman, what are you doing in the meantime while they're waiting for the vehicles to be special ordered and come back to St. Martin? We got St. Martin's Days coming up. They got a Juve coming up. Remember that on the 10th? Big Juve that is happening. Thousands of people are going to be on the streets. And then before you blink an eye, you wake up, Happy New Year! Heineken Regatta Carnival. So, can we do something about it? Put up a GoFundMe or ask the lovely car rentals here, the thousands of car rentals we have, spare some old Toyota Corollas, spare some old pickups, and not forgetting, the Yamaha dealers, just some scooters would be helpful. And then you have a good idea, though, police department. What you could do is, you see all them bikes that you confiscated and you was going to crush them and you want to get rid of them because people don't want to come because they don't have the papers for it? First, I'm going to get the boys from, what's her name? Sandy Ground. I'm going to make them do a workshop with you guys on how to do, how to work the bikes. They're going to give you some classes, because they are the original bike life. Don't know bike life. And of course, my boys, them from the Dutch side also, get the bike life team together and let them teach you how to run away from police. I mean, how to get the bad guys. Show them how to use the scooters and use those scooters, commandeer them, take them, because we're going to destroy them anyway, so let me put them to use. Can you imagine a police officer going like, stop, beep, beep, stop, on the T-Max. And then, of course, we got the jewelers. They could donate the jewelry, the big chain. It could be hot. You go imagine, yes, you got two. You're gonna have two police officers on one bike going like, "Stop, police!" Whoa, that would be amazing. But all seriousness, Batman, please, Prime Minister, it is important that we come together for the safety and security of St. Martin and get these temporary vehicles. Just like you have temporary generators, let's have temporary vehicles for the police department of St. Martin so they can keep all of us safe. Not just you, not just me, everybody. Please. Respectfully, of course. Yeah? Good. I got a highlight of a interview that the good incoming Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Melissa Gums, gave an update on the screening process and a little bit more on what she is doing and her party is doing for the new cabinet that is supposed to be sworn in next month, November. Time flies when you're counting down, right? Let's go to that.
Is, well, why are we buying generators when, GB should just start transitioning to solar? Either way, it's going to be a heck of an investment. And I've said as well to the Prime Minister in the GB meeting that we had that I need to see GB come with a plan for some sort of renewable energy. I know it's not going to be, my opinion, possible to transition 100% to renewable energy, especially not like that, but at least something. Whether they have to approach the bigger providers, the bigger consumers, to work out some sort of system with them that they can then, get an incentive to move towards, renewable energy, solar, and other solutions, or that GB starts to look at other areas where they can fill that gap. What I don't want to happen, which I said in my remarks in the first part of the Central Committee, is that we get these. So now we have the so energy generators, which are carrying, a little 10 megawatt load. Then we're getting the additional 20, well, they are here on the island, the CMEC generators that are rent to own, which are going to generate 1 megawatt each. So 20, and bring us to close that gap of what we're not able to generate right now. It's my hope that GB get them up and running within the next couple of weeks, because of course we have high season coming, and consumption always spikes during high season. So you don't want to end up in a scenario like we were in the summer, in the middle of high season, especially for those businesses related directly to tourism and hospitality. Those CMEC generators then are going to be used as a bridge until the generators are commissioned and delivered. What's the big concern about then this loan? What's the big concern about what I've been saying, which is that GB keeps saying they will absorb the cost, for these rental container generators, and nothing will be passed on to the consumer. I said it in a few meetings now since this crisis kicked off in earnest, because as I remind everyone, we started load shedding since last year, November. It kicked up a notch as was that chef Emerald, as Emerald used to say, it kicked up a notch basically in June with the power plant fire, and now we're trying to fill that gap of what we can't produce, so the 17 megawatts, right? um the issue is that I think we're going to need the so energy generators for longer than we thought, which means that there's an additional cost. The second issue is that the CMEC generators, these container generators, are meant to be a temporary solution. But if you're using them in the time that you are waiting for your generators to be commissioned and built, then you are spending more money. At least that's my understanding. If you take a rental car because your car is in the shop, obviously, the longer that your car is in the shop, the worse, and the longer and the higher your cost gets for a rental car. That's how, to break it down in the simplest of terms. So I'm really curious to see what the Prime Minister comes back with on the answers to those questions, and we are still, of course, waiting for the answers to those the GB questions in writing, so that we have them and can review them, and if necessary, ask for another meeting or just regular updates. There's also been talks of having a closed door meeting to discuss GB's financials, just point blank. Of course, with all confidentiality maintained by the members of parliament. So we will see if we get that meeting sometime in the near future. So yeah, Monday we start off. So the GB loan is one part of why the budget has to be passed before hopefully the end of October, the budget amendment. The second is that within this budget amendment, you also have certain conditions and parameters related to the UNOPS prison project, and further to that, and most importantly, the Mental Health Foundation project. So I really hope that these are projects that were started by the previous government. I really hope that when it comes down to the public meeting, there's no unnecessary delay tactics deployed, just to kind of burn time to delay, and then these projects are, potentially dead in the water, because we have to match. They're in our budget so that we can match the Netherlands' budget cycle, which is what happens when you are taking these kind of loans from the Netherlands. So I'm hoping that when it comes down to it, we're all able to be mature and keep it pushing. Some political updates. It's gonna be a short one because we really only had the budget amendment, but I did want to update on the screening process. So from we had an update on the screening process from the Prime Minister, and by we I mean each individual candidate minister receives the update directly from him, which he of course received from His Excellency the Governor. So I was just asked to confirm that I would be receiving new copies of my diplomas. I've said before that you're supposed to hand in your any credentials that you may have and such. There's a questionnaire that you have to fill out, and I my diplomas are damaged, so I could not exactly copy them and such. So I have to receive new copies from my school, and hopefully, but at the same time, I submitted something that is actually stronger than the diploma. So in the U.S., what you have, if you've gone to school in the United States, you have what's called the re-verification process. It is a online request that you can make to Student Clearinghouse. You pay a fee, and they will verify with your school and give you a certificate that states that you attended your school at these dates. This is the degree program that you followed. These are the degrees that were conferred to you and the dates that they were conferred to you. So I submitted that along with a letter explaining, what happened, and to also explain that the re-verification process is utilized by the U.S. government, U.S. government agencies, because diplomas can be falsified. So the re-verification process actually back checks with your school's database. So it is pulled directly from the university. So there's no chance that you can say you have a PhD and you don't. So I submitted that, and will be, of course, reconfirming that the new copies will arrive when they arrive, because every university has printing cycles that you cannot circumvent. But ultimately, I don't foresee that being an issue at all, because the re-verification is the stronger of the two um, pieces of evidence, I guess, if you want to say it like that. So I did want to get to the news part of the live stream a little earlier. So there was an article that hit the paper last week about the trust fund assessments of primary schools, and that it basically showed how many pupils are below mastery benchmarks, in particular um, reading and mathematics. Now, mathematics is something that has been a problem across the region. So earlier this year, not too long ago, actually, like a couple months, like a month or so ago, there was an article stating that the CXC results in mathematics were abysmal in even countries like Guyana and Dominica, Trinidad, and such, that have normally a very high passing rate of students in mathematics, especially in women. So the issue is that everybody is doing poorly in mathematics within the region, but the reading assessment is troubles me a lot, and I have spoken about this before, that we are definitely facing an issue when reading and reading comprehension, because it's not so much the reading, it's also the comprehension and the ability to critically analyze and think about what was just read and understand it, and then go from there. So I just want to read from the article directly. So Group 3, Grade 1 pupils, typically aged 7 to 8, from 17 primary schools across St. Martin made up the study. The assessments tested children's proficiency in maths, reading, comprehension, and Dutch. The EGMA test, so the EGMA is early grade reading assessment, focused on skills like, the math test, sorry, my bad. The EGMA is early grade mathematics assessments. Focused on skills like number identification, addition, subtraction, problem solving. The EGRA, which is the reading assessments, evaluated letter and word recognition, reading comprehension, and understanding of phonemics. So they categorize the results into 3 levels: mastery, developing, and emerging. Students at the mastery level demonstrated a strong understanding of concepts and skills and showed that they were ready for advanced challenges. And the developing group had some knowledge but needed support to reach mastery, while students in the emerging category were in the early stages of acquiring the necessary skills for their grade level and would benefit from reteaching and practice. So the assessment indicated that many students were below the mastery benchmarks, instead falling into the developing and emerging categories. For example, only 6% of pupils achieve mastery in oral reading fluency. The benchmark is 50+%, while 11% reach mastery in numeracy based on their addition speed. The benchmark is 56+%. So, however, data varied by school, with some schools reporting more than 80% of pupils had mastery in literacy, while other schools had scores as low as 36%. Now, I don't have this report as yet, but it is my intention, of course, to get my hands on it, to put it alongside the initial report from the Inspector of Public Education on the teaching quality assessment that was done. And because this report has already shown that student performance was affected by teaching methods in school and support at home. And the support at home is what I think is most important. I've spoken pretty publicly about my mom being an avid reader. My dad was reading the newspaper, but my mom was reading whatever. And it instilled in me that desire to also read. So whatever I could get my hands on, I would read. Now, the reality is you have a lot of students, a lot of kids who don't have access to books like how I had access to books. And that in itself is problematic. So As I've mentioned before, there's going to be some projects coming out that definitely target literacy from the community outreach portion of PFP, which is Project of Progress. And we're going to be working on getting books in the hands of kids who otherwise would not be able um, to get their hands on books. So I'm definitely looking to reading this report, seeing what the assessments suggest, and trying, to do my best to also continue to support in whatever capacity. Because even prior to being elected, I definitely always, if you ask me for books for a classroom, you're going to get books for a classroom. Because I do believe that reading is a way to develop your vocabulary, it develops your critical thinking skills, your comprehension skills, and it allows you to move through life. I read to some students at Martin Luther King School, and I told them, how many of them read for fun, don't read for study, and not many. But at the end of the day, I said, any job that you get, reading is going to help you out. It's going to help you understand your contracts. It's going to help you understand what is legal, what is not legal, what is best for you in a work environment, in a nonprofit environment, in any environment really. Being able to understand what is being put in front of you helps you to protect yourself, financially, professionally, everything. So definitely something that I remain committed to figuring out, what is the what can be done to improve it. Because as someone who worked in private sector, you see the deterioration of our literacy rate in the cover letters that you get, the resumes that you get, how persons communicate via email, through the written word in general. And I always tell people, people used to make fun of me because my WhatsApps are always well punctuated and perfect grammar. And they're like, it's just WhatsApp. I'm like, I know, but it will bleed into whatever is happening elsewhere in your life as well. The way that you talk to people, the way that you type to people on a regular basis. So that was one of the more important things that I wanted to note from our own local news. Regionally, and I see Corinne Rivers has mentioned it already in the comments. Let's hope the GB saga does not become what's happening in Cuba right now. Absolutely right. If the GB saga had been, first of all, I want to read to you some of the issues that Cuba has been facing. I read a previous article when this was first kicking off last week, and essentially their grid was collapsing. Their entire grid was failing just repeatedly for 2 days, basically. Island-wide blackout. Literally, they've been calling it the worst blackout in 2 years. Left millions on the island without electricity for 2 solid days. On Saturday, when the energy minister woke up, I guess they told him we have 500 megawatts in the electrical grid early on Saturday, compared to the 3 gigawatts that they normally generate. Several substations were finally getting back electricity today. Basically, two of their thermoelectric power plants just shut down, and 37 other power generation plants and substations also just collapsed. Um, so essentially, they are struggling with something that is similar but much worse on a larger scale than what we're dealing with. And this is just the latest in many Caribbean islands electricity company issues. So the thing is that Cuba's government, they made some crazy measures to protect the grid, to slash electricity demand, so to stop consumers. So imagine like suspending school, universities, shutting down state-owned workplaces, telling people stay at home. Non-essential services were canceled, like just everything just shut down to prevent buildings from sucking electricity. Imagine, that we had just said, well, school is closed. During our blackout. That's basically what has been happening in Cuba since last week. So essentially, they've had companies that have had to close down. They've urged persons, if you can be at home, if you don't have to be at work, don't go to work. Be at home in the dark, of course. So definitely, a small light at the end of the tunnel, as some of their residents get electricity back after this what I would call a catastrophic failure. I can't even imagine. So I was watching pictures of people preparing soup on open fires during the blackout, and that's when you go back to your whatever you learned in camping or scouts, if you were ever in scouts. But definitely a very serious situation. And just the latest, as I said, we have our issues with GB. Aruba, even Curacao has been having issues. My aunt texted the other day, we ain't got no power. I'm like, Curacao? Aqua Electro going through it. Anglec is going through it in Anguilla. So overall, you're just seeing what ultimately it boils down to climate change. The heat, the rising temperature is going to put a demand on persons using more air conditioning. I know people who have AC, but normally don't even sleep with the AC on all night. So they just put it on, cool the room, turn on a fan, call it a day. Now I'm hearing those same people say, yeah, I had to sleep with the AC on last night because it was too hot. The fan is not helping. So you can imagine the drain on energy that does to the grid, and that's essentially what every island is dealing with. So even if you've always had the most stable electricity, and again, Cuba has generated normally 3 gigawatts. They have thermoelectric plants, more so a diversification of their energy supply. Still we're not able to stop a collapse of their grid and this rolling power failure over the last couple um, days. And other than that, you noticed that last week we had a wave that was kind of chugging along with a little bit of rain over the weekend as it, breezed past us, and then all of a sudden it was like surprise, Hurricane Oscar. So yesterday, Oscar was touching down in the Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos, yes. And then strengthened up to, I think, a Category 1 hurricane rapidly from a tropical storm. So became a tropical storm after leaving us, and then up to a hurricane status, and then passed over them last night. And then tomorrow morning, well, this morning, they woke up where the conditions were already improving, and now it looks like he's gonna curve, and by Tuesday-ish, passing over, some of the islands of the Bahamas, on his way to the Atlantic. And if I look at the track, maybe Bermuda, I don't know. But that's possibly by the time he reaches Bermuda, he'll just be a subtropical depression, subtropical storm, which is what happened to Nadine over on the side of Mexico, which was a wave that was just kind of nestled in that same corner that Milton was, there by the by the Yucatan, and then moved on to Florida. So it looks like October is the new September. I've always said, once we pass my birthday, September 4th, we should be okay with a quiet hurricane season. However, 2024 season has proven me abysmally wrong. So that, of course, is to be expected with climate change. The weather patterns are going to go out of sync, out of whack. So yeah, definitely some things to look at. And I just want to touch on this last bit here. So you've had the opening of our arrival hall at the airport at Princess Juliana International, 7 years after Hurricane Irma. Of course, construction only started in 2022, since the financing was only agreed upon in October 2021, as I've always said here and in Parliament. So after 2 years of construction, the airport is open, the arrival hall, and with it came the new entry form for Simatin, much like what Aruba and Curacao already have. So a digital entry form. And of course, persons are complaining because it had little, some wonky stuff on it, and just, it wasn't working. These things always have hiccups. This is why, usually you should be testing them. I don't know how it went. I don't know who developed it, but in any event, that's some of the hiccups that were happening with opening of the arrival hall. And I just wanted to read this piece posted today about Caribbean nations streamlining travel with online immigration forms. So I saw some people saying, yeah, this is just going to make it more tedious for people to come and they're going to pick somewhere else to go. Okay. GG, because everywhere is going to do this. Dominica, the Discover Dominica Authority, which is their tourism authority, stated that travelers arriving in or departing from the island can visit the website to submit their information electronically. Then they'll receive a confirmation along with a QR code, and they can start submitting up to 3 days before arrival. So to just rattle off who has, Aruba has the ED card, Barbados has a travel form, Bermuda, Curacao, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Jamaica, the Bahamas, St. Martin now on the list, Tortola, and the Dominican Republic. So essentially, many islands are already signaling that they're going to be moving towards these portal systems, scrapping the paper system that you're accustomed to. Turks and Caicos is in the process of creating an ED card platform, although they don't have a time frame as yet. Trinidad and Tobago's finance minister also announced that they will be launching their own immigration portal next year. So essentially, this is going to become the norm in the Caribbean. And I know some people are, a little frustrated, resistant to change, but ultimately, it just means that our airport is modernizing, and nobody complains about having to fill out these American Airlines forms and JetBlue forms online before you can even check in. So just to have some patience as they work through the kinks of this new system. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to get it up and running. Aruba's didn't go off without some hiccups, and that's just how technology works, guys. To be honest, so always have a little bit of patience for your app devs, and hopefully they'll iron out the kinks relatively soon. I want to touch on this comment from Cassandra Richardson. Any reports on assessing emotional intelligence, which is also and has been a growing area of interest and concern. So this, I assume, is going back to what I mentioned with the trust fund assessment of primary school students and their benchmarks. So emotional intelligence, definitely something that needs to be tested. For I think everybody in the chain of education, and actually anywhere. If I had to undergo emotional intelligence tests and training as a customer service manager at a telecoms company, I think in education you can also do something similar. So I don't know if that was done. Like I said, I haven't seen the full report. I'm pretty sure this is just a test on kids' ability to read and understand numbers. But I think those types of assessment, especially in this day and age, when you have special needs kids, whether they're on one end or the other of the spectrum, they need a little additional patience and a little additional emotional intelligence and understanding from those in authority responsible for their education and care for at least 8 hours out of the day, or 5, 7. But yeah, I'm not sure, but definitely something that I would advocate for. Also too, for teachers, school managers, even school boards, to be honest. I think a lot of times people forget that these are kids, and they are ultimately the clients of education, and the most important people in the whole chain. If you want to put a little private sector spin on it, the customer is king is something that they say. So definitely within reason is what I always say, because of course I never allowed customers to mistreat my employees either. So you also have to have that balance where persons are also held accountable, outside of school, and that's never the teachers, that's the parents. So that basically rounds up what's been going on.
Okie dokie. Welcome to Late Night Show. We have a good one for you. Let's T-Max.
You've dreamt it.
You've worked hard for it. And now you've got it. You deserve to enjoy the fruits of your labor and know that you're covered in case of a disaster, like an unexpected fire or a vehicular collision. At Magic Insurances, we focus on settling your claims quickly and fairly so you can get back to enjoying your life. Magic Insurances, fast, fair, and always there.
New Gen. She my gang. Let's get ready for the party. Girl, why your body? Get ready for the party. Girl, why your body? Let's get ready for the party. Girl, why your body? Get ready for the party. Girl, why your body? Where the party tonight? Someone tell me where the party tonight. Where the party tonight? Someone tell me where the party tonight. Where the party tonight? Anytime I see the girl, you want to get with one like a cigarette, bend down, dagger next. Slap up on your body, girl, shake up your leg, one like a cigarette, bend down, dagger next. Slap up on your body, girl, shake up your leg. Everybody get mad.
At GEBE, we take the safety and quality of your water seriously. Every day, our dedicated sample collectors venture into the field, visiting the places that matter to you: water tanks, school, supermarkets, home, and high-risk areas. Once these samples return to our water quality lab at KB, they embark on a journey that safeguards your well-being. Our dedicated analysts take over, sending these samples to the microbiology and chemistry department, respectively. This is where the magic happens. We test for a range of parameters, and we do this every single day, no matter what, including holidays and weekends. In our microbiology department, we focus on 2 major tests targeting various bacteria. Confirmation tests are conducted, and we have plans in place in case the results are confirmed. And then we do it all over again, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Rain or shine, your water safety never takes a day off. So when you turn on the tap and enjoy a glass of GEBE's water, you can do so with confidence. GEBE, the power to serve.
Have you been good? Have you been behaving? I don't know. I can't take your word for it because you might be on Late Night Court TV with Judge Big Al.
Welcome to Late Night Court TV. I want to shout out to the Bar Association of St. Martin. Everybody works in the courthouse. Everybody who works in justice. I mean, you're doing your job to keep the place safe. We just want to remind everybody, especially Mikey from Grand Cause, this is real people, real cases, and real sentencing. So let's have some sense of, sensitivity, I guess. But this is justice, so let justice do its thing. Let's start with the first story. That story, this is real. Convicted human smugglers ordered to pay $9,500 in ill-gotten profit. Red flag. The maths already sound off to me. Anyway, let's get into it. A husband and wife convicted of smuggling migrants to United States Virgin Islands, the USVI and the BVI, have each been ordered to pay $9,500. So the husband and the wife each have to pay $9,500. But if they marry, why the judge gonna just put a 19? Anyway, moving on. The estimated profit, the $9,500 is the estimated profit they earned from the illegal trips between September and November 2021. Jose Miliard Castillo, 45 years old, and Marcia Jimenez Puello, 57, a cougar, rare. His wife, were sentenced to 6 and 5 years in prison. That's rough. 6 and 5 in prison, respectively, in December 2022, after the court, a 4th instance, found him guilty of human smuggling and money laundering. Another man, Luis Silbin Salvador, much younger, 34, who was the captain on 2 of the smuggling trips organized by Castillo and Jimenez, was sentenced to 4 years in prison earlier this year on 4 counts of human smuggling. He has now been ordered to pay $4,000 in illegal proceeds. Okay, the numbers still, I don't know, I mean, people are really risking their lives. I mean, how much money would you pay? You feel me? Anyway, let's see how they got to the numbers. The court's decision follows a disposition hearing earlier this month where the prosecutor requested that Castillo, Jimenez, and Silben each pay approximately $14,833 based on 2 smuggling trips proven in court. The prosecutor argued that the migrants were charged $2,500 each to be smuggled. Okay. The first smuggling operation took place during the overnight hours of September 18th to 19th in 2021. According to the prosecutor, a total of 8 migrants were taken to the USVI, and after subtracting $19,000 paid for the boat, the 3 earned roughly $333. No. Nobody doing that for $300. Nobody doing that for the, you know, for the price of a new pair of Jordans. Nobody doing that for less than the price of a PlayStation 5. I don't care what you say. That number is erroneous. Let's keep it moving. Which would be an equal split of the profit. The second voyage was on November 19th. According to the prosecutor, this trip took 28 people to the BVI. 28. And after subtracting $12,000 paid for the boat, the 3 and convicted co-perpetrator Nelson Puello Heredia shared $14,500 in profit between them. So I'm wondering how they get these numbers. Anyway, defense lawyers Safira Ibrahim and Shamira Roseberg, 2 very good lawyers, okay, pleaded for the dispossession claim to be dismissed. It's crazy. Or at least substantially lower. They challenged the prosecutor's claim that each migrant paid $2,500 and disputed the number of passengers on the boats. It's, I mean, as your lawyer should do. Your lawyer should, yeah, that's what your lawyer should do. Dispute it. In Silben's case, defense lawyer Ibrahim, a great lawyer, also argued that her client had no organizational role in the smuggling operations. The judge ultimately lowered the prosecutor's demands in his verdict on Tuesday, settling on a more conservative estimate of $1,500 per migrant. Yeah, just a, you know, a G and a half. You know what I mean? A stack and a half to migrate people. That's what we're going for right now. Wow. The judge considered it unlikely that any profit was made in the September 2021 voyage, agreeing with the defense lawyers that the exact number of passengers could not be confirmed. He also pointed out that the boat used for this trip capsized and partially sank on the return leg to St. Martin. However, the judge did order Silben to pay $4,000 in illegal proceeds for this trip. So the boat sank. Karma comes to get you. However, the judge did order Silben to pay $4,000 in illegal proceeds for this trip because he previously testified that Castillo had offered him that amount to captain the boat back from the U.S. So y'all snitching on each other? That's what we're doing? You human smuggling and then you snitching out each other? Snitch tax. We need to put a snitch tax on things. I don't know, I just think so. As for the November 2021 voyage, the judge said that the evidence proved that 27 people were smuggled. So do they have the 27 or just bringing that out to the air? I don't know, which corresponds to a total profit of $28,500 after accounting for both expenses. However, the judge determined that this profit was only shared 3 ways, ruling that it could not be proven that Silben was anything other than a captain who was paid a one-time fee for his services. The judge then ordered Castillo and Jimenez to each pay $9,500 or 1/3 of the total profit. I feel like it's maybe too much maths going on. I feel like the judge and this whole case, it just had a lot of numbers. How do you substantiate those numbers? You know what I mean? But I mean, justice is done, and Marcia and Jose together have a $19,000 bill. Stop smuggling people. Next article. This next article is full of tea, I guarantee you. Supreme Court advised to quash controversial land swap verdict. The Dutch Supreme Court should squash the verdict that upheld government's decision to annul a controversial land swap deal between St. Martin and the developer Tessie NV, and send the case to be retried before the joint court. Send the case to be tried before the Joint Court of Justice. According to an advice issued last month by the Attorney General at the Supreme Court, the case stems from almost a decade ago, hot tea, because this thing ain't cool down. When Tessie NV sent a letter to the government in January 2015 to request long lease rights to land near Kimsha Beach to build a luxury hotel and casino. This followed 3 previous requests between 2006 and 2008. So in 2015, you had already requested in 2006, and then 2008, and then government answering you from the time you do it in 2015. Sounds about right. That's personal. I'll admit that's personal. Anyway, let's go. The proposal later turned into a land swap where Tessie would be granted property on long lease while the government would receive a parcel of the developer's land in Coal Bay. So good thing Tessie NV had some land, government making a swap. I think I know what this is about. This land would be owned by the government, and the plan was to build a sewage treatment plant on the site. We've heard about this for 20 years. Civil servants of the Ministry of Infrastructure, Romy, advised against the land swap on August 14th, 2015, and members of Parliament passed a motion in late October calling on the caretaker government not to enter into deals until a new cabinet had formed. Okay, so just pick any one of the years when government fell. It's 2015. However, then caretaker Romy Minister Claret Connor approved the deal on November 18th, my birthday. Yeah. Okay, that has nothing to do with it. On November 18th, the last day in office, I remember that, for him and the rest of the Marcel Gums fallen cabinet. William Marlin's first cabinet was sworn in the following after that. They were sworn in the following day, so November 19th. The deal netted the developer about 4,300 square meters in long lease for a total of 25,722 guilders per year. A sum the company paid 2 days after governor's ministerial decree. The business going fast. Well, I mean, you wait 9 years. But I mean, as soon as it start moving, government fall, next government come, and your papers moving all one time. This is back when National Alliance was really like, they got in and it was going to do their thing, you know what I mean? Anyway, the area includes what is now the Kimsha Beach parking lot, and the Envision Hotel was to have about 200 rooms. So they got the land, the government now have the parking lot on. That's what I'm understanding. Angel Myers, the next full-time Romy minister, expectedly annulled Connor's deal on December 16th. So Connor made the first deal, and now he annulled it on December 16th. Tessie and co-plaintiffs, Caribbean Beach Resort Development NV, Port de Plaisance Medical Center NV, and Port de Plaisance Hotel Management NV, took the government to court demanding that it honor the original deal. So these are the players. Government's legal team argued that the former minister had not been authorized to conclude the deal, partly because, according to Article 27 of the National Ordinance on the Issuance in Leasehold of Lands, a minister needs parliamentary approval to exchange government property. And so Angel Myers came in and annulled it. The court of first instance sided with the government in 2017, 2 years later, followed by the Joint Court of Justice in the appeal case in 2023, 6 years later. The developer then took the case to the Dutch Supreme Court in January 2024. So this case bounced around on St. Martin for damn near 18 years from the original request till it reaches to the Supreme Court in the Netherlands, January 2024. The first part of this procedure is an advice by the Attorney General at the Supreme Court, an independent body that gives legal opinions for the justices to consider. In this advice, the Attorney General believes that the Supreme Court should squash the lower court's verdict, arguing that Article 27 was incorrectly applied in the ruling. This article deals with the alienation of government property, which the Attorney General argues should be seen as a permanent loss of an asset, such as what happened in a land sale. Clear. The Attorney General argues that this is not the case in the original Tessie deal, as giving out land in long lease does not lead to the loss of the country's assets. The Supreme Court could take months to issue a verdict on this case. If the bench of justices sides with the Attorney General's reasoning, then it would send the case back to the local court to be retried in light of this new and definitive legal precedent. If this happens, then hope is still alive for Tessie NV and its co-plaintiffs, the Port of Plaisance Group, to receive the requested leased land. However, the area has since seen the establishment of several restaurants and bars, raising new questions about how a potential resolution might impact these current businesses and the broader development of Kim Shah Beach. Y'all know the song, pave paradise and put up a parking lot? That's exactly what's there. And so there's the parking lot with the boots and the occasional, brush up. And they're going to put a hotel on top of that. And they're fighting to put a hotel on that for, wanting to almost 18 years. Gone all the way to the Supreme Court. I would say, yeah, that's a bit worrisome. That's a bit worrisome. But let's see where it goes. We've gone this far already. New rule. Government got to work faster on these requests. That's one. Other rule. If save the environment. That was Late Night Court TV. Till next week, stay out of trouble.
Hello, my people. Make sure you tune in to Sit, Sip, and Chat every Monday at 5 p.m. on TV 15 and every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m.
And make sure tune in to the Late Night Show with Andrew Dick from Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. with a repeat in the afternoon for no reason. In the afternoon, the Late Night Show at 3 p.m. Thank you, TV 15.
Thank you, TV 15. Make sure to tune in.
Make sure to tune in to the Late Night.
And Sit, Sip, and Chat.
Late Night.
Welcome to SXM Taxi, the most convenient way to hail a taxi on St. Martin. Our app is strictly dedicated to licensed taxi drivers only on the island of St. Martin. You must have an active authorized taxi license and driver's license to be approved to use our service. Our app is designed for the convenience of both customers and drivers. Customers simply download the app, upload a credit card, and have immediate access to any driver available nearby. Once you sign up and are approved to drive, you can choose when you want to use the app by toggling the switch at the top center of your screen to either online or offline. When you are online, you will be alerted for passenger pickups in your area, be visible to riders, and be able to accept rides. When you are offline, you will not receive alerts and you will be invisible to riders. This feature is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to use at your discretion, making the app extremely flexible and user-friendly for the driver. Once the rider requests a taxi, a notification is sent to all drivers in the vicinity. The first available driver to accept the ride gets the fare. Once you are alerted of a potential fare, you can accept the trip by clicking the Accept button at the bottom of your screen. The app's built-in GPS feature will then guide you directly to the rider's location. By clicking the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you can choose from 3 different GPS integrations: Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze. This feature gives you the ability to use the GPS platform you are most comfortable with. Please keep in mind that you must download the GPS app that you prefer separately onto your phone in order to use this feature. We recommend downloading the Waze GPS app for best results, as we find it to be the most accurate and up-to-date GPS platform. Once you arrive at your passenger pickup point, slide the Mark Arrived arrow at the bottom of your screen. For added security, the app will require you to enter either the last 4 digits of the passenger's phone number or an OTP code that was provided to the rider. This built-in safety feature protects drivers from unwanted or incorrect passengers. Once you enter the correct code, the ride can start by swiping the slide to begin arrow on the bottom of your screen. Once the trip is complete, simply swipe the slide to end ride arrow on the bottom of your screen. The fare is automatically calculated and charged to the rider's credit card. You are now ready and available for your next ride. Driver sign-up bonus fees. All drivers that sign up to use our service will receive an additional 10% booking fee for every fare booked with the app through 2025. In addition, the first 100 drivers that use our service and reach their 100th ride milestone with SXM Taxi will receive a one-time $500 bonus fee.
Hey, did you know I just signed up for Flex by Telem?
Do you mean flex like this?
Definitely not that.
Do you mean flex like this?
No, definitely not that.
Do you mean flex like this?
No, definitely not Flex like that. Telem's Flex is a mobile plan that adapts to your needs. Each month, I get a preset monthly fee that has a set amount of data, SMS, and minutes. So I know what I'm getting. But say goodbye to overages and bill shock, because when I go over my postpaid plan, it switches to prepaid. So I have the flexibility to top up what I need when I need it. I'm in complete control. My budget, my rules.
That is it for the Ignite Show. Thank you so much for watching. Until Monday, do have a safe and pleasant one. Bye-bye.